Hey everybody, Mike Gillette here with a question. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? And I'm not talking about every possible little thing that you do. That can be a little bit overwhelming, but the big stuff, the important stuff. Do you know, for example, why you pursue the things that you're pursuing or why you aren't pursuing particular things? Here's why I ask. It was about 10 years ago that I was first exposed to feats of strength, and I became very interested in feats of strength or strength stunts. And so I pursued those, even though it hurt, even though I wasn't particularly good at them, even though I was a mature novice practitioner at the age of 46 at the time. Nonetheless, I kept at it, and about 5, 6 months later, I had a few things that I could do. And I found myself in a public setting doing those things. And that really just fueled my interest further, and I kept at it and just kept, sort of gradually expanding the repertoire of things that I could do. And shortly thereafter, I connected with somebody who was involved in the entertainment industry. He booked acts, bands and magicians and hypnotists and you name it, in casinos and comedy clubs and you know other places that have live entertainment. And he was very nice to me. He took an interest in what I did because he thought it was unique. And for much of 2009, I was in all of these types of places, all of these entertainment venues as an entertainer. And I thought that's what I was supposed to be doing because where else, do you do these things? And it was sometime after like perhaps the second or third performance into December of that year, and I realized that there'd been sort of something gnawing at me, this entire time. On the one hand, um, there was something appealing about the public presentation of these things, but there was also something about it that was not working for me personally. And I hadn't quite figured out what that was until maybe 6 months of this had gone by. And what I finally realized is I don't want to be an entertainer. I don't want that mantle. I don't want that responsibility. Um, because I don't feel like that's why I have this ability. I don't think it's to be cute or funny or engaging on a stage someplace. There are people who do that and do that very well, and I'm not diminishing what they do. It's just not me. And I don't think it's why I happen to connect with feats of strength at a late age, while I was still kind of locked away in the bodyguard industry because that's what I was still doing in those days. So I have kept on. I have continued to expand the repertoire. I have looked for further ways to test myself, and that's one of the things that I believe feats of strength are for me, is a means to test myself. So that's what led to Guinness World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not and America's Got Talent, but that doesn't really fit, other than it just sort of happened. In any event, I'm not about the entertainment side of things. I like to use what I do to basically reinforce or validate what I talk about when I teach about mental development skills or self improvement within the mental domain. I don't want people to think that this is just all theoretical, so I offer these stunts as a visual example of real time manifestations of mind power, concentration, focus, motivation, whatever people like to call it. I generally just call it wanting to do something with a lot of intensity, which is about as mysterious as I see it. So I still do these things. These things are very important to me, but it wasn't until I figured out what I didn't want to be and what I did want to be that it all sort of started making sense for me. So from about 2010 onward, I wasn't carrying around the mantle of entertainer. I wasn't portraying myself in that way. I portray myself basically as a teacher, or as a coach, someone who can teach people how to do things, and in the process of doing things, I use these very illustrative metaphors to get my point across, if you will. So, why all of that? Well, to ask you again, do you know why you're doing what you're doing? Do you know why you pursue what you pursue or why you don't pursue things that you're not pursuing? It's important for you to examine that. It's important for us to sort of stay in touch with who we are and not who we were even a month ago, but who we are right now today. You know, we're perpetually learning and evolving and becoming more than we were just the day before. So being mindful of what our motivations might be today is going to allow us to be a more authentic, integrity based version of who we need to be moving forward. So spend a little bit of time on that. Figure that out. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? Give it some thought. You're on the right path.